Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me for How She Does It. On this show, we talk about all things women, money, and power. I'm Karen Feinerman. Before we get to the episode today, I wanted to make a quick announcement. This will be our final episode of Season 1, and I've so enjoyed these conversations with incredible women across industries, learning how they balance being entrepreneurs, moms, CEOs, or handle being in the public eye. I love to learn and I love to be inspired, and what a pleasure it has been for me to be able to do both of those things every week with all of you. I've also really enjoyed hearing from you about which episodes resonated with you the most. So, who do you want me to have on the show next season? I have a few ideas of my own that I'm working on. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter, @Karen Feinerman is my handle, or the HerMoney team at contact@hermoney.com. And I'd love for you to join us for our Investing Fix Club, where we're learning to invest with hundreds of you. Go to investingfix.com for details. That's Investing Fix with 2 X's. We'll be back later this year, and I can't wait to see you then. Now, let's get to this week's guest. Clara Wu Tsai is many things. I know her best as the owner of the New York Liberty basketball team. She's also a social justice activist, founding and advocating for the causes she believes in, including the Social Justice Fund, which works toward economic mobility and racial justice, the Reform Alliance, which seeks to reform the criminal justice system, and the Wu Tsai Human Performance Alliance, which works across 6 universities to bring together world-class talent to advance the science of human performance. Clara, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Karen.
I am delighted to have you. Okay, let's tell us first your background. We have a lot of very successful women doing interesting things, and very few times is it a straight linear shot from where they started to where they ended up. So your story, you are a first-generation American of Taiwanese parents who came to the United States to get their PhDs in Kansas.
Right.
So what was the message your parents gave you about what they hoped for or thought you should do with your life?
Well, yes, I think you're right, Karen, that my parents, they came to the United States as graduate students. My dad came to get a PhD in economics from the University of Wisconsin, and my mom came to get a master's degree in mathematics, also from the University of Wisconsin. And they came searching for opportunities and really also freedom, because that really wasn't available in the Taiwan of that era. My dad was actually one of the early pioneers of the field of econometrics. And he got a job as a professor at the University of Kansas, and he taught there for 35 years. So I and my brother were born there, and we were raised there, and I lived there until I left for college when I was 18 years old. And I would say that my values really are very much shaped by being the daughter of a Taiwanese professor in Kansas. My parents experienced some of the same challenges that a lot of immigrants faced. The language barrier for one, and certainly a lot of thrift. I mean, there was a family of 4 living on a professor's salary. And I'm sure loneliness, right? Just from being so far away from their families. But certainly we were a very close family because we really pretty much had each other. They were assimilating at the same time that I was trying to assimilate. And overall, I thank them for giving me, really helping me realize the importance of education. And also they gave me a very strong work ethic. And certainly I understand the value of a dollar. And that's something that I really try to pass on to my kids, even though our situation is so different from theirs right now. I also want to say, though, that my parents also really taught me to give a voice to those without one. My grandfather, he was the first elected mayor of Taipei, and he fought on behalf of Taiwanese rice farmers against discriminatory rice policies that were put on by the Japanese, who were the colonizers of Taiwan at that time. And my dad, he really ushered in the era of democracy in Taiwan because he was one of the founding members of this group called the National Taiwanese Professors Association, and they were instrumental in ending martial law and in, again, bringing in democracy. So that has really shaped really who I am and all the things that I care about. I should also mention, I think you'll like this, growing up in Lawrence, Kansas, Jayhawk basketball was my passion. For those of you that don't know, I mean, Lawrence is a college town, and it was really unified, particularly in March, by March Madness, because the Jayhawks made so many appearances in the Final Four. And it's astounding to me that love of that game of basketball at such a young age really translated later into, being owner of professional sports teams, professional basketball teams. It's something I could never have imagined or dreamed of. And it's just part of my story.
Well, I know you were excited.
Thank
I
you.
don't remember how many years ago it was where the Jayhawks finally won it all, right?
Yes, right.
Yes, I know you were very excited about that. So you never imagined then, which makes sense to me actually, that one day you would own two basketball teams
Right,
and the arena that they play in. That's kind of
right.
amazing. Okay. So I know you went to Stanford and I know you went to Harvard Business School. And
hmm
so what career path did you think you were on, or what career path did
hmm
you start on?
Well, first of all, I was really lucky to be able to go to those amazing institutions. I credit Stanford for introducing me to that practice and the concept of interdisciplinary research. It's something Stanford was onto very early. And I realized back then that so much innovation happens at the intersections of disciplines. And it's something that I apply to almost everything that I do in terms of problem solving. So I really credit Stanford for that. And, it's really, really deeply embedded into my approach today. I have to say, in terms of Harvard Business School, it took a lot of courage and foresight, honestly, for me to apply to business school because I grew up in a college town and my dad was an academic and I was exposed to people that worked in academia and who really focused on academic research and teaching. And for someone like my dad, who pioneered this field of quantitative economics, a professional degree just seemed like, why would you need to do that? I also think that he maybe just didn't think that a business degree was as serious as the hard science of his degree. But I persevered and I'm really glad that I did because it not only gave me a lot of confidence, but obviously it gave me some fluency in the language of business and an invaluable network. And I'm really glad I did it because it taught me what business can do, the value creation that you can get from business, and certainly opened up a whole world of possibility to me.
Okay, so after you graduated Harvard Business School, you've got your degrees, Stanford and Harvard, you're ready to go, and you came to New York.
Mhm.
What did you think your career path would be then?
I started out working for the New York Times in a strategic planning position. My grandfather at that time was the publisher of the Independence Evening Post in Taipei. And back then, a young, idealistic Clara thought, maybe eventually one day I might take over as publisher. And I think what happened is the New York Times uh, doesn't have a lot of competition, right? It's the old gray lady, and a little change in the font is going to stimulate thousands of letters from readers. And so from there, I went to American Express, working both in New York, in London, and also in a regional job in Hong Kong. And then eventually I went to work for Taobao.com, the B2C unit of Alibaba, and I started the cross-border trade unit for Alibaba. A very, I wouldn't say it's circuitous, but it's a path of just finding opportunity and seeing where I felt that I could make the most difference and what cultures I liked and where I thought that I could have the most impact.
So where did you feel most comfortable? Was it Kansas, Stanford, Harvard, New York, Hong
I
Kong?
love my life now, I would have to say. Everything that I've done in the past has prepared me for where I am today. So I would say I'm really fortunate that I've been able to live in Hong Kong and I have much more of a global mindset and I see myself as a global citizen, but also a Kansan. So I would say you definitely can't take the Kansas out of the girl. And so I think I'm a global citizen from Kansas.
Okay. All right. So I know that eventually you and your husband, Joe Tsai, you purchased the New York Nets and then the Barclays Center
Right.
and then the New York Liberty, which was so fascinating to me. I've always been a huge supporter of women's sports. I actually
Yeah.
looked at the New York Liberty hard, hired bankers and lawyers, and I
Yeah.
just couldn't quite get there. And so they had this failed auction And then miraculously, thank God, you came in when the Liberty was just kind of down and out. They were playing at the Westchester County Center, which is so far beneath the level of the skill of these women. And the team was really kind of broken. And you came in. What made you decide, you know what, I can fix this?
Right. Well, we did have the Brooklyn Nets, and so it seemed and with the Barclays Center, so it seemed natural that we might consider having a women's team. But I think when you decide to buy a team, it starts with the belief in the potential of the business. And, you need to have the resources to be able to invest in the long term. We knew it was going to take a while. And to be honest, it's incredible that it just grew so fast. The interest in it and the appetite for it really grew so fast, really in the span of one season, 1 year, even though, of course, we've been investing for a while. I would say that we're at where we are because of investments we've been making over the past 4 years. But overall, I'll say, yes, the Liberty had been underinvested in, as you said, when we took over the team. But we believed in the potential of professional women's basketball in New York City. The world's best female athletes play in this league. The world's best female basketball players, I should say, play in our league. And the tri-state area is the country's largest media market. And New York is a basketball town, right? We love our sports. In addition, the Liberty was one of the original 8 franchises of the WNBA when it started in 1997. And the Liberty went to the finals 4 times in the first 6 years of the league and had some of the biggest stars in the league, like Teresa Weatherspoon and Rebecca Lobo. So it was a storied franchise. But the previous owners, for whatever reason, just decided that they didn't want to invest anymore. And so they moved the team to play in Westchester County Center from Madison Square Garden. And so after we bought the team, the first thing we did was move the team back to New York City, to Barclays Center, where the Brooklyn Nets play. And then slowly we built a state-of-the-art locker room. We started to invest in player health and care. And from there, because we had a really miserable record back then, we managed to get a generational player, the number 1 draft pick in Sabrina Ionescu in 2020. The next year, our GM had the foresight to add Benija Laney, an incredible player, and Sandy Brondello, a championship-winning coach. We added as head coach. And then last year, a year ago in January, there was a fateful trip that I took to Istanbul. And on a slow boat along the Bosphorus, I managed to recruit the top free agent of that class, Brianna Stewart. And after Brianna decided to join the Liberty, we rounded out that starting 5 with Jonquil Jones and also Courtney Vandersloot. And before we knew it, we had a team of champions. And last season, we managed to break a lot of league and team records. We had an incredible crowd. I think we had 5 arena sellouts with 2 full arena sellouts. And, again, broke a lot of records, but I'm proud to say from a business standpoint, game 3 of the finals, we recorded the highest gate receipts ever in WNBA history. So we're very proud of what we accomplished. We fell a little bit short of our final goal of winning a championship, but all our metrics were great, and the team is back in full strength, and we're back on track to trying to achieve that goal this year.
So for those of you who might not follow women's basketball so closely, the New York Liberty lost in Game 6 of the finals to the Aces in an absolute heartbreaker, but it really was just an absolutely extraordinary run. And when you are in that Barclays Center and there is a great game going on, the energy there is just so exciting. I mean, having been at other WNBA games, and there's nothing like it. And I credit you entirely to having built this team and made this excitement and this energy. And also, I think you were the executive producer of Unfinished Business, which is the Liberty history of New York Liberty and how they've got one big goal left to achieve, hopefully more than once. But you are the absolute best owner for this team. I mean, it's thrilling.
Well, thank you. But yes, there's a whole team behind me, which deserves a lot of credit. our incredible general manager, Jonathan Kolb, who, of course, was voted by his peers to be general manager, basketball executive of the year, I think is the official award that he got. Kia Clark, our CEO, who's been with the team for more than a decade, and just our incredible coach. There's a whole team of people that we assembled to really operate and execute on our vision. I do have to say that this year, besides winning a championship, our goal is viewership. That's very important from a business standpoint. And of course, this is a business. And one of the things I really want to do is show that women's professional sports can be profitable. And so this year, one of the main accomplishments of the off season was to sign a local media rights deal, which we did with Fox 5 and My 9. And every single Liberty game that's not on national TV will be free over the air on Fox 5 or My 9. So everyone in this tri-state area, you're able to watch the games, and please do tune in because there's going to be a really great season.
I am super excited. It starts this Saturday, and I can't wait for this season. You checked in with training camp. How's it going?
Training camp was great, full of incredible energy. And it just comes from, well, I have to say the starting five came back. Actually, we have 7 returning players. And, they have a whole year of playing together under their belt. And all of them came back healthy, which is great. And they came back really playing just the way that they did when they left off in the finals. So again, they have great chemistry. The coaching staff knows them and knows how and where to put them in, in places where they can succeed. What we did this year was strengthen our bench. We got a rookie in Marquisha Davis, and we have Leonie Fiebig coming from Germany. And our bench this year, we were looking for athleticism, for defense, and for size, and a bench that really knows their role. I think they're all excited and ready to really come out and support the starters when called upon. So I think it's going to be great. We're really looking forward to it.
As am I. It's going to be fantastic and super loud in that arena, which just adds to the energy and the fun.
Yeah, I think that fan engagement was the piece that I really didn't expect. And I'm so I'm just in love with the way our fans love this team.
Yeah, they were going nuts. My daughter, she couldn't be a bigger fan. I don't know if I told you this story, but you can find out the name of the refs online for each game. And she will, whenever they call and foul against the Liberty, she will yell at the refs by name just to dig them a little bit. Like, come on, Randy, why you got to do that to us? And they hear it.
I love that.
The group around her cracks up, but she's super excited. We can't wait to be there and to see you there. So I just picture you and Joe coming home at the end of the day. Joe runs the Brooklyn Nets. You run the New York Liberty. I don't know if you split the responsibilities of running the Barclays Center, but it's such a funny thought of oh, how was your day, dear? What is that like at your house when I know the teams don't really overlap during the season, but there's work to do all year round? What is that like at home?
I think it's great that we divide and conquer because both of us have very strong thoughts about how to run the teams. Yeah, and ultimately there is pretty much one decision maker. I mean, we do collaborate a lot and share ideas, and also really, I think we rely on each other to provide different viewpoints. I think that's really important to come to the right decision. But ultimately, I'm the governor of the Liberty, and he's the governor of the Nets. But we do play in opposite seasons. So we're not fighting about what team gets to play in the arena or anything like that.
Do you guys go to concerts there?
Yeah, concerts are great. And I have to say that's probably, in addition to the games, it's a wonderful arena to be in camaraderie with other people that are enjoying live music. I'm so happy live music is back. It's such an incredible growth area, a real high point in terms of growth for entertainment. And, it's really a joy to see a concert there in addition to watching professional sports.
All right. So, Claire, I want to talk about your social justice activity and your philanthropies. Tell me first about the Social Justice Fund and how you got involved.
Well, we started the Social Justice Fund in 2020 off of the heels of the murder of George Floyd. And we made a $50 million commitment to support economic mobility and racial justice in Brooklyn. And the goal, we really look at, I like to use access to capital as our main tool that we use to promote economic mobility. And we use every tool, every arrow in our quiver there. So low to no interest rate loans, grants, equity investments. We try to employ all of those levers in order to impact economic mobility for entrepreneurs and businesses in Brooklyn. We started out of the gate after COVID offering low and no interest rates loans to businesses. Actually, we didn't look at credit scores. We looked at character because we know that a lot of businesses often don't have credit scores to be able to get loans. And so we offered low and no interest rate loans to those businesses who were disproportionately hit by COVID to help them restart and recover after COVID. But then we also realized at that point that in order to really affect long-term economic mobility, we also had to look at a different part of the ecosystem. And that means entrepreneurs who eventually were on the pathway to starting venture backable companies. So last year, we launched what we call BKXL. It's a tech accelerator that provides seed capital at levels comparable to Y Combinator. And it's a $125,000 investment for 7% of the company with the opportunity for follow-on funding if people hit certain metrics. But again, these are all offered to underrepresented entrepreneurs, again, because this is a group of people who historically haven't received a lot of funding from the VC community. One of the things we ask for when they do receive a second tranche of funding, if they do, is that they move to Brooklyn. And, the goal, of course, is hopefully they're going to hire people who live in Brooklyn, and it will just help our overall, grow our overall ecosystem of businesses in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm. And what about the Wu Tsai Performance Alliance?
Yeah, so we started that because we saw a big opportunity in the marketplace. Almost everything that we know about human health really comes from studying disease, but we really wanted to change that. And we wanted to study peak performance in elite athletes. And we thought that we could take these principles behind performance, these biological principles that we would discover by studying elite athletes, and apply them to all people, right? So that people could live healthier lives all the way from youth to people in their last third of life, right? Where mobility really impacts your quality of life. So that was just an area that we thought was underinvested in. Nobody was really studying healthy people. And I think now there are more people, and the government will also be starting to fund studies of healthy people. There was not an area where this discrepancy was more pronounced than in female athletes, because 25% of all health studies are actually on women. And if you ask why, it's a very underfunded group and no one focused on studying female athletes. But of course, there are a lot of injuries and things that affect female athletes that don't affect men. For example, you may or may not know that females study ACL tears at 2 times the rate of men. So one of the things that our alliance studies is why that's the case and how can we get preventive therapies to women a lot faster. So there are 3 kind of main focus areas of the female athlete program. One is female injury, focused on bone stress fractures and also ACL tears, which I just mentioned. The second one is called RED-S, which is relative energy deficiency in sport. And this is a very common condition where women don't get enough fuel, not enough nutrition to really offset the kind of intense workouts that they're doing and also their competitions. And our work really helps to identify when an athlete is in this condition and also helps them to prevent it and guard against it. And then the third area is female resilience. So specific ways that females need to return to play after injury. And there's also a lot of very deep scientific research that we're doing across the alliance around female athletes. And one of the exciting things we found is 40 sex-related differences in gene expression after exercise. So something like that is going to lead to female-related therapies and training regimens. And I think that's really going to change the game for the way females prepare for success in their sport. So a lot more to come. Hopefully, I'll be able to tell you about more of these discoveries and how we can translate them into the lives of female athletes.
It's kind of amazing to me that you sound like sort of you're at the forefront of this. This hasn't really been focused upon, and we're in 2024. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like most things you do, you put forth a big effort. This is like a multi-university endeavor.
And 6 universities, public and private, and everything is open source and available to everything. So we just decided to create the kind of alliance that we wanted to see, and hopefully a model for the way research is done in the future in other fields.
Also, tell us about the Reform Alliance.
Yeah, Reform Alliance is focused on fixing our country's broken parole and probation system, and we do it by changing laws and creating pathways to jobs as well. 25% of people who go to jail each year go for not committing a crime. They go for committing a technical violation. And just to put the size and scale of this problem into perspective, about 5.5 million people are in the justice system and 3.7 million are on probation and parole. But instead of helping people get back on their feet, which is what parole and probation are supposed to do, parole and probation has really become more a pipeline back into prison. And let me tell you what a technical violation is. Basically, it looks like something that isn't a crime, but gets you back into prison. And a good example is the case of Meek Mill, whose case is actually the reason that we founded the Reform Alliance. But he was sent back to prison in 2017 with a sentence of 2 to 4 years for popping a wheelie on his motorcycle. And in another instance, a person got 90 days for making an illegal U-turn, something for which a normal person would simply just receive a traffic ticket for. And so since our founding in 2019, we've worked with Democrats and Republicans because, in fact, criminal justice reform really has to be a bipartisan effort. But we've worked with Democrats and Republicans to pass 18 bills in 11 states. And it gives them pathways out of the supervision system.
So you're saying this person is just highlighted because they're in the system, and so already the cards are stacked against them. They're not going to have a fair shot for a violation of minimal or no consequence for someone who's not in the system.
Right.
Okay, Clara, here we are at the lightning round. It's just, Would you rather? And the only thing you have to do is just answer the first thing that pops into your head. Okay. Don't think about it. Okay. Here we go. Would you rather travel back in time or into the future?
Into the future.
Would you rather have the Liberty win a nail biter in the last second or blow the other team out from the get-go?
Blow the other team in the get-go.
Just because it's less stress?
Yes.
Okay.
Although I know the fans will like the nail biter.
Nail biter. Yeah, they just go berserk.
Nail biter. As long as we win, nail biter.
Okay.
Nail biter, yes.
Okay, women's basketball or men's basketball?
Both. But,
okay.
Wait,
which would you rather watch? Yeah.
Oh, I can't choose both.
Okay. Duncan the Dragon Slayer, Sly the Silver Fox, or Brooklyn Knight?
Brooklyn Knight.
Okay. And these are mascots, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Would you rather be Manhattan, Kansas, or Brooklyn?
Brooklyn.
Okay. Would you rather laugh uncontrollably or be moved?
Laugh uncontrollably.
Okay. What have you changed your mind about in the last year?
I can't say I've changed my mind. I've always known that our future is in the hands of the youth, but the optimism and the talent and the ability to do good of our youth always inspires me.
Okay. All right. Last question. What is the best investment you ever made and the worst investment you ever made? An investment could be anything.
I think the best investment I ever made was to buy the New York Liberty.
And the worst?
I think most of it is investments that I didn't make, but you have to get over. I try not to dwell on anything that I didn't do.
Okay. Clara, thank you so much for spending the time with us. I know it's a busy week. You got a huge thing going on Saturday, and I can't wait for the season, and I'm delighted to have you. Thank you for spending the time.
Thank you, Karen. Really enjoyed it.